Hey guys, it's me, Jonathan Wade, and today we're going to be talking about the square. Composing in a square, in photography or in design, it's always been a little bit of a challenge, I feel. And some people love it, some people hate it. It's a little bit of a polarizing shape to compose in. You don't see it that often in, I guess, normal everyday advertising. You don't really see it on television. From the beginning, Instagram was solely a square format, and people who knew about medium format photography, 6x6 frames, were like, oh, well, that's like medium format photography. That's pretty cool. Nice. But it's since expanded and grown. I am a graphic designer, and in my history of designing things, I haven't really made much in a square format. I think I've made maybe 2 album covers. That's about it. As I'm sitting here talking about how I never really used square in design, I get sent products to shoot sometimes. Square. This whole company is like, yeah, let's just do squares. Let's make everything square. So yeah, I guess squares are a thing. Here's another one. These are some wipes that I use for electronics. Square. It's not that much. Also, I forgot to turn on my microphone, so sorry about this audio. And as a photographer, I wasn't ever really forced to compose in a square format until I picked up a TLR, this little 6x6 Yashica MAT LM. It's been great. I love it. As far as medium format cameras, I get a couple more exposures than I do on my RZ6-7. It's a lot lighter. It's got really nice glass. It has a cool look to it, obviously. And I feel like it's just been one of those things that the camera chooses you. Get all these cameras, or at least I do. And I just naturally am gravitated to pick up a certain camera or two. And this has been one of them. I took it with me to Spain. It was a great travel camera. I've enjoyed just casually shooting it, as well as trying stuff out in a studio setting. And so it feels to me like a pretty diverse option as far as medium format photography goes. I put out a poll on Instagram. I had a few responses that were along the same vein, that they enjoy square photography, but not for themselves. They don't really feel inspired when shooting in a square format. And that's fair. It's putting photography into a box. Literally. So when we're talking about composition in a rectangular format, right? So here, or, this way, it's often a much more natural response. So you're not having to spend as much time thinking about the composition because it feels natural. Naturally, when viewing something, either in a frame or in a specific shape, we look from top left and go down to bottom right. Right? So having a composition kind of flow this way feels good. Whereas if you had something placed in the upper right-hand corner, your eye kind of goes up there and it's like, whoa, why is that there? It's a little off-putting. And you can use that in your photography to evoke a sense of uncomfortableness or whatever you want, honestly. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about that. Or in this frame here, I put myself in the center. I'm like, hey, look at me, I'm talking. I have some leading lines going to my head, and, I'm backlit, so it's like, and front lit, so I have some nice separation, and that's, makes sense. From over here, it's a little, what is all this? I feel like I should have a display here. Maybe I will. Maybe I will do that. So in a horizontal frame, if you think about the length of something being time, like in a painting, like you have a long time to go from this side to this side, right? And then back over here. And so it's a longer read. Whenever you're doing a magazine, or if you just look at a magazine, the columns are very short, and so it can be a quick read. So in a vertical composition, your eyes are going to bounce around a lot faster than in a horizontal composition. But either way, both of those have their own energy to them and make you feel a certain way. Often I only shoot in portrait vertical frames because it's more exciting. It's especially with people, because people aren't this way. We're we're this way mostly. And so if I'm trying to fill the frame with a person, you turn it vertically and then there's the person, right? Now, if you're trying to get more of the environment that the person's in, yeah, of course, shoot horizontally and you'll get the person in the environment. So the square, what the heck, square? You've got no energy to you. You're like all equal and stuff. Like, where's my eye supposed to go? It's just kind of all into the middle. And it feels very easy to just center things. And I'm looking at the square. I'm going to put the thing in the middle, okay? Let's not overcomplicate it. So I'm going to give you 6 tips to compose in a square. Take them for what they are. Try them out. Hopefully it helps. Maybe it'll inspire you. Maybe it won't. Maybe they're dumb. I don't know. I'm also going to show you some of my photographs that I've taken on my Yashica mat. And I won't say that they all work, but at least I'll be able to be like, hey, this is what I was thinking when I took this picture. Okay, the first tip. The first tip for square photography is to simplify your composition. So with these equal sides in the square, it's very easy to center things. Yes, we've talked about this. But what you can do is sort of embrace that and like lean into it and look for symmetry. And in the same vein, look for asymmetry. If something should be the same on both sides and it's not, see if you can't center that and kind of pull out that imperfection. It's really interesting when you can find this sort of composition in nature where things do feel very random. So if you can find symmetry in nature, it's like turning something natural into a man-made thing. Finding symmetry is a great way to show off something that's been man-made. So in architectural photography, if you can center it and show, wow, look how symmetrical this is. Like, whoa, that's very human. Use it like a design element, or find some cool angle on it that it cuts through the square frame in a neat way. Step 3, using rule of thirds, but different. And I say this because in rule of thirds in a horizontal frame, where is it? Right there? I don't know. That helps create the energy that I was talking about through the frame. So, whatever. But in a square, it just makes a bunch of little squares. So it's like, well, okay, that kind of, it's just a diagonal, like everything's very even. So how can you use the rule of thirds in a square? Well, it's leaning more on the edges of the frame, lean more on the edge side of the rule of thirds, and that'll help create that sort of interest, that movement, that curiosity if something is going through a frame, catch it at the end. Because the actual rule of thirds, it's almost centered, and then it just looks like an off-centered photograph, where if you move it just a little bit over there, then it'll kind of keep that interest. It'll keep that rule of thirds vibe inside of a square format. Tip number 4 is to center your subject. Yeah, just do it. Whatever, especially when I've been carrying around my Yashica in like a casual setting, and I'm just trying to capture the vibe or family photos. I'm not really worried about composing as much, and just shoot the thing centered. It's a strong thing to do. That's why I think square format's pretty interesting. You can center something and that subject is going to be the subject. It's also a great way of making your eye rest. It doesn't have to look all around. You know exactly what you're looking at when you look at a square photo. You're not having to hunt or guess at the subject. It's right there. You're going to know what the subject is. So in that way, it really simplifies things for everybody. Step number 5, and I really like this one, it's finding layers. Finding your foreground, your background, and putting your subject in between those things. This helps add visual interest, dirty the frame, just like you would in cinematography, and really let your viewer know what the subject is by what's in focus. And tip number 6 is to use leading lines. Yeah, use leading lines. Use a street going into the center to be like centering the subject or if it is off, finding those leading lines to really point to where you want your viewer to look, whether that is in the center or off center, rule of thirds, square edition. Anyways, those are the 6 tips, and hopefully it will inspire some of you to either pick up a TLR or start, make your digital camera shoot only in square, or pick up Instagram and, just go into, I guess iPhones have it too. You have just a square mode. Just try it out. That'd be an easy way to do it. Just pick up your phone, put it into the square mode and see what you can do. If it sucks, delete it.